Well, I know you want to really get into this preseason stuff, so I'm going to let you take the floor and do your thing. Because I didn't really get to watch too much because StreamYard sucks. Or not StreamYard, StreamE sucks.
Oh, you don't have a Valley Sports account anymore?
No, I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I got mine. It still works. I'm able to watch the preseason. I'm sure I'm going to have to re-up on the account here, the subscription, here any day now. But for now, I'm getting these games. It would suck if they're just teasing you with preseason and then as soon as regular season hits, you get hit with a fat bill, which I kind of expect to happen. But preseason number 2, Pistons won. It was an awesome game. Even though it was preseason, they came back from about 20. I believe they were down 21. I believe the final score was 128 to 125. Just some great performances. 6 Pistons were in double figures. James Wiseman had 20 and 10 with 8 for 8 from the field. But as we were talking pre-production, he was being defended by 6'5" guards. So don't take too much of that. Be like, oh, look at James Wiseman. It's crazy. Jaden Ivey, another performance off the bench. He had 13, 4 and 3 with 1 steal. I kind of felt like he took a lot of threes in this game. He did take 6 of them. But one thing I noted was just how much pressure he was putting on the rim on his drives. I mean, man, he was getting to the rim. Didn't matter if Chet Holmgren was on the floor or not. He was looking to attack. Asar Thompson, he did foul out in this game, but I think he got his 5th foul in the 3rd quarter and played well into the 4th. And just some of the defense he was applying, especially on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't know if you saw this in the 1st quarter, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I believe he made All-NBA first team last year. And he was locked up on a couple of possessions by Asar Thompson. And that defense is just incredible. I feel like some of those fouls were a little ticky-tacky. And as he grows more as an NBA player, they won't be called fouls. He'll get the benefit of the doubt from the referee. But since he is a rookie, he was getting into a little bit of foul trouble. Killian Hayes, he had another good performance, man. 16 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds, 1 steal. He went 7 for 13 from the field. He played with a lot of confidence shooting the ball. I felt like at one point he was really hunting for his shot, but it got no traction on Twitter. And there were just a lot of people praising him. And I went back and actually watched a little of this game, and they were good shots. His form looks a little bit more solid. Like I said, the confidence was there. I felt like he faded back a lot, though, on some of his jumpers, considering the fact that he is 6'5", and he has great size for that point guard position. But overall, it was a great performance. I mean, Marcus Sasser, how can I forget him? He just played phenomenally in this game. And dude, you might be right. He might be getting minutes day one if he continues to string together these type of performances, and not even just stats wise, but the energy he's playing with. Continue to attack the rim, get after it defensively, take the shots when they're given to you, and just play with poise. That's what he did. Stanley Umude, I mean, I love to say this, but I also hate to say it. I think he took Isaiah Liver's spot. He just looks incredible, man. I mean, I'm not saying he's a starter on this team, but as a role player and what he gives you game in and game out, from the hustle, the intensity, and just, oh, thank you. Yeah, Alan, you're right. I agree with you. And dude, the shooting, he only missed 1 3, but every time he shot it, I thought it was going in. That's how well he shot the ball. And yeah, I really don't have much more to say about that. I was impressed with James Wiseman offensively. I still think that backup big spot, it's still up for grabs. I do think Marvin Bagley is leading the race. My only concern with James Wiseman is he looks so lost defensively still. Like, he did not look engaged on the defensive side. And it's such a damn shame too, because of all that size and athleticism and that length and everything. You really wish he would be engaged, but I think his offense will always keep him in the NBA as long as he wants a job. It's just the offense isn't good enough to outweigh the poor defense. So those are my thoughts on the preseason game too, man. A lot of positives, not too many negatives, but do you have any thoughts on it? The little bit you got to watch?
I kind of just want to do a quick recap of like each individual player. But before I do that, the Pistons social media team, they got to work on their captions. because I don't know if anyone saw, they used Asar Thompson as a final score graphic, and they put brick by brick, and the guy shot 2 for 10 out of the field, and they deleted the tweet. So Pistons, you got to do a better job with your captions. We all saw the tweet, you deleted it, but just wanted to get that off there because if you're on Twitter and you saw that, you probably got a good laugh like me. But speaking of Asar, he did struggle to shoot the ball, but I think you had mentioned it a little while ago. He did have 5 fouls going into the third quarter, and he didn't foul out until pretty much like midway through the fourth quarter. He still had 8 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 blocks. He's going to stuff the stat sheet this season. Even within 2 preseason games and summer league games, I think we can get accustomed to him just stuffing the stat sheet. And maybe he's a fantasy sleeper for you guys out there that are fantasy nuts. I liked what I saw from Asar. Isaiah Stewart, in a short amount of time, going up against Chet Holmgren, he had a post move that I absolutely loved. He finished with 12 and 7 and 2 assists. Liked what I saw from him. He seemed a little bit more under control in this game versus the game versus I want to say it was the Suns, if I do remember correctly. Bagley did his thing also, 9 and 7 against a shot blocker that I think is going to get more respect around the NBA, even though it is his rookie season. 9 and 7 against Holmgren is impressive. Killian Hayes, back-to-back preseason games where he looks great. He just looks like he's more confident. He's taking every opportunity, finishing with 16 points in 26 minutes and 3 assists. I like when he's aggressive. And he had a couple of shots where it's just like, wow, okay. And he had this one off glass that was an and one that I was just like, man, how did he make that? Because he's like switched hands midway, but was really impressed with the starters. Jaden Ivey, again, second preseason game, he's off the bench, and that's probably going to be the main focus of this podcast tonight is, is he going to, come off the bench for the rest of the season? But we'll get into that later in the show. Looked great, had 13 points. Wiseman, I feel like was kind of like the star of that game, especially, coming in, didn't miss a shot, 20 points, 10 rebounds. Now, granted, it was against, the OKC's bench players, and OKC played small the second half of that game because they were up 20. Why not? It's preseason. You're going to try some stuff, experiment. But I'm not knocking James Wiseman. I'm happy that he had 20 and 10. He didn't miss a shot. You got to get that confidence up, and he got his reps in. So happy for him on that. To me, I thought he was the MVP of that. Him and Marcus Sasser, in my opinion, were the MVPs of that second half rally. And Stanley Umude, by the way. Joe Harris, 6 points, just did his thing. Sasser, holy crap. I think we both talked about it when we drafted him, when the Pistons drafted him, that this could be a guy that could play point guard, could play shooting guard. I think his defense, to me, is way ahead of what a rookie should be able to defend coming into the NBA. But you do have to remember, he did play college basketball for 4 years, so he's going to have a little bit more experience in that end of the floor. But to have 17 points, 5 rebounds, and be a floor general out there, 8 assists, and just hit some really big-time shots down the stretch and just make some winning plays, extremely happy that Troy decided to trade up for Marcus Sasser. I think he's just going to be a gamer. And I think he's going to get minutes this season. It might not be a lot to start the season, but he's going to get minutes because he's just going to be a spark plug out there. And I'm really happy that he had a good game. And I'll leave it with Stanley Umude. And Alan had asked a question, and I think we're gonna answer it right now. 18 points, back-to-back games where he's making clutch plays when the game's close. We talked about him a little bit last year. I told you he could be a guy that the Pistons maybe look to sign next year. The Pistons have one available two-way spot. They haven't used that third two-way spot. I think he gets it, but I think the bigger question is, could he take Isaiah Livers' spot if Isaiah Livers can't stay healthy? I know it's very premature and it's very early. Livers is going to be out until December. But Umude just makes big-time three-pointers, makes the right pass, can switch defensively. He's not a lockdown defender by any means, but he's serviceable for what he's getting paid. My opinion is I think they gave him the third two-way, but I want to hear your thoughts on just Stanley Umude, just the first two preseason games, and do you think down the line the Pistons might have to make a tough decision between him and Isaiah Livers?
No, I think he has Isaiah Livers' spot, man, and you know that pains me. But he's so good for who he is. He could probably defend positions 1 through 3. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Wesley Matthews, who I believe also went undrafted and didn't get an opportunity to, like, I don't know, maybe his second year in the NBA. And I don't know, when I watch Stanley Umude play, I just feel like there's more to his game, and we haven't seen it yet. But the shooting looks real. The defense is solid. The hustle, the intensity, just that kind of dog about him where, you know, he wasn't given an opportunity right away, and he wants to make the most of it. And that means something, and that can really inspire a team. And I agree with you. I think he gets the two-way spot, man. He's a guy now that when I'm watching the preseason games, I want him to get in early, and I want him to play often. That's how much of a fan I've become of his.
Yeah, like I had the privilege of watching a lot of Motor City Cruise games because that is my job. For people that don't know, I work for a broadcast company, and we do broadcast the Motor City Cruise home games because they do play at Wayne State. It's so funny because you would think a player like Stanley Umude started. Guess what? He didn't. He came off the bench for the Cruise, and he was one of the leaders off the bench. He can hit clutch 3-point shots. It's just kind of his bread and butter. One part of his game that I think I want to see him work on is getting to the basket a little bit more, because I think he has the body and the skill set to do it. But you can't argue with the results of him just coming in. He's just instant offense, instant impact. I mean, you look at his plus minus through just 2 preseason games, and it's off the charts. Like, I want him to get that third two-way spot because I think he's earned it. Nothing against Jared Roden, nothing against Malcolm Cazelan. I just think he's actually earned a two-way spot this preseason so far. In my personal opinion, it's just every time he's out there, he's doing something that's positive in the win column for the Pistons.
The only crazy thing is there's 2 little fun facts about him. He played 5 years of college basketball, 4 at South Dakota, 1 at Arkansas, and he's a fan of the Oklahoma City Thunder. So who was the player last year that was high-fiving after the game? I'm forgetting his.
Eugene Amarui?
Yeah, like I hope we don't ever see that from Stanley Umude. You know, we're just high-fiving. Even though he doesn't have any connection to them, but he just happens to be a fan. But yeah, like I said earlier, I'm just a huge fan of Stanley Umude, and I would love to see him make this team on a two-way or even just getting that final roster spot, like a guaranteed deal. I think after 2 preseason games, he would be the guy that has, like you said, earned it. And he deserves it, man.
He really does. Like, even if you give him a two-way, I mean, he could still be an emergency provision down the line. But, I mean, I think with his play, he's earned it personally. He really has. I know he did get called up last season with the Pistons, but he only got to shoot a free throw. He didn't really get to do too much. But I think Monty Williams values defense a lot. And if you play both ends of the floor, you're going to get playing time. And I think he's really leaned on him heavily so far in the preseason.
Dude, he's a legit NBA player. He is a legit NBA player. If the Pistons don't sign him, he'll end up on another team. That's just what it feels like with Stanley Umude.